Hey everyone, welcome to our live session that we call Diploma Talks, Interaction Design. And we have a funny semester and a funny exhibition, I guess, due to the current situation. We have an online exhibition with a website on which we show the graduation work of our students from the BA and the MA program. I just want to, and we have a couple of presentations today of students who present some of their work, of their graduation work. Just a couple of notes on the interaction design program itself. So we have a BA program, an MA program, as well as an extensive research area that we investigate aspects of interaction design. So interaction design explores human interactions mediated by current and emerging technologies, and both digitally as well as physically. And whereby programming electronics still plays a huge component, but we're also branching out in new areas like living tissue, trying to set up a wet lab currently. So on the one side, we're developing technological responses to human problems and explore new forms of interaction, thereby doing ethnographic work, prototyping, building stuff, tinkering, but always testing our concepts or the things that we develop with people if they actually do make sense, and also work in participatory ways. And we will see later on some projects that show those approaches quite nicely. On the other hand, we're also investigating consequences of technological development and thereby work explorative, speculative, critical, and highlight sort of intentional and unintended consequences of our technological mediated environment in a way. So we not only focus on screens and like interaction mediated as we experienced that in the last couple of months in a way, but also have a component of interaction design as a physical relationship with these devices where we employ more multisensorial forms of interaction, which may be called physical computing or embodied interaction, to create those immersive experiences that we strive for. Interaction design is not necessarily media specific, but it involves a whole range of different medias, ranging from apps, websites to physical products, as well as installations. And topics we sometimes often explore, and that we also will see today, are some concerning health, political issues, or new materials. And that is a quick introduction. We have a little question and answer session. There's some comments. You can post some questions if you have any, so we're happy to address those. And so we have 5 students presenting some of their work, and I would like to hand over to the first student, which is Sundke from the MA program.
Thank you, Björn. As said, my name is Sundke. I am a trained mathematician, and this typically scares away a lot of people and always triggers the statement, I was always bad at math, I never understood it. And that was for me the trigger to pursue further in the interaction design master study, to see where mathematics plays a role in everyday's world, where it shows up in fiction, in film, in art. For example, Man Ray used mathematical figures and structures to investigate shadows and also incorporated these results in his work later on. From there, I started focusing on circles, numeral systems, and especially on equations, where I then also focused during my detailed studies to say, equations, what is an equation? Equation means the left side is similar to the right side of an equation. And language, on the other hand, tells you don't compare. So if you don't compare apples and oranges, as we say in English, when you really compare them, you have cores in there, you have a peel, you have a little stem. So they are quite similar, but at the moment you really compare them by biting into them, they taste completely different, and you'll be surprised that the saying what the language tells you is correct. Starting from there, it was also the question, where is an addition and a subtraction coming into play? For example, for noise cancelling headphones, so you subtract the noise of the airplane from your listening experience. And with that, I thought, where can I apply this addition of sounds and using a room as a calculator to really feel this inverse sound generation? And that was the area I focused, and also my practical experience and my practical studies on it, by building a vinyl LP where you can, in the pleasure of your home, experience very nicely how your room serves as a calculator by shifting phases, and how different waveforms approach the sound negation in a different way, giving you a different acoustic experience depending on what waveform you're using. So the main artifact is a vinyl LP, and I'm have that on Bandcamp. So you can pre-order this. This is a pre-press. And so you can pre-order it at Bandcamp and also listen there to digital versions on it. And what I also proposed is an installation which couldn't take place due to the social distancing and the distance we have to keep from each other for safety reasons. So there you would really go physically in a room and experience that feeling by yourself and controlling these different shiftings of the waveforms yourself. And for me, this is a mean of showing to people who are afraid of mathematics, who never really got a hang of it, to show that there is an everyday's purpose on it, and that there is no reason actually to be afraid of mathematics, but just use it, play with it, and also try to get a more playful way of using it. And with that, I would like to return to Björn.
Sorry, muted. Back. So thanks, Unke. Thanks a lot. So so you might think of this as educational, but in a very remote way. So it's not directly telling you exactly what you have to do, but you need to work yourself a little bit more into it. So it's on a more contemplative level than, I guess, although experiential. Moving on to a more direct way of improving perhaps certain ways of what we can do in terms of language practice. It's a project by Melanie, and I would like to hand over to Melanie to explain the app that you developed.
Yes, so I am Melanie Abbé. And for my bachelor thesis, I interested myself in language learning, mostly because it was really difficult for me when I was at school to learn languages, and I had a really hard time there. So I had the feeling that as a designer, I could bring something that would help people like me in this situation, and also motivate by learning national languages, which are sometimes a bit considered are unnecessary from certain students compared to English. So I created Quiz, as you can see on the image. It is a mobile application. Actually, it's in a form of a guessing game that connects two native speakers of different languages and help them improve their language skills by interacting with each other. So I'm gonna move forward. Right. So yeah, it is a Who I Am game, actually, presented like that. You can choose from different categories, like here, food, objects, or animals. And once you choose one, you are matched with somebody else. For example, I speak French, and I would like to practice German. So I would be matched with someone that speaks German and want to practice French. It was also important for me that I would be matched with somebody that have approximately the same level as me. That means someone that has the same French level as my German level. So once you match with somebody, you end up with that screen. For example, here we are this woman, so we see this woman's screen. She chose the category animals, and the application distributes 2 words, 1 word of each player. And she cannot know what word she is, but she can see what words the partner is, if he is a cat. And they both have to ask questions in the foreign language to find out, yes, actually what they are. And once they both find out what they are, they have to write on the application the word to validate it and to end the game. The idea was also that you get random player to play with, but you can also add them as friend and create kind of network of friends in the application so that you can play again later on with them and create a deeper relationship with some people. So you have the possibility to text with people offline also, and also to play by texting with your community of friends, actually. you have a kind of system of rewards that enhance the experience. For each word you guess, you get a little card with the image of the word and some description in the foreign language, or some more information about the word, so you can read in the foreign language and compare it to your own language to learn more vocabulary. So yeah, for the moment, it's just a concept. So the mobile application is not present, it's not existing now. It exists in the form of a website, actually, with just a basic function. That's just one category, which is the animal categories. And it's just a matching aspect without rewards. So for the next step, I would like to improve this website and perhaps launch the application, because I think this concept has a real potential of helping people with learning languages with the motivation, and have this authenticity when learning in language that is not really yet the case when we learn languages at school. So yes, that was for me. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Melanie. So what's nice about this, so if you think of language learning software, I guess, so you might think of it as even as a game, you play with that system in a way, or, it's transmission of information of that language that you're supposed to learn. But, it's an interactive process, right? So you're learning with someone, you learn the language while you're doing it, while you're interacting somehow. And I guess this app or this system encourages quite nicely. Yeah. We stay with the topic of health for a while and move to Claudia and Randy's project that deals with a journey of recovery.
Yes, so hi everyone, my name is Claudia Buck and this here is Randy Chen. And we look really forward to giving you a bit of a tour of Journey to Recovery. So Journey to Recovery is a companion app to a sleep treatment for children aged between 8 and 12 years old. It playfully combines the medical treatment with an entertaining and informative story.
To give you a bit of a context, in our project, we collaborated with a research team from the ETH Zurich and the University of Zurich called Sleep Loop. Sleep Loop are creating a treatment for children who have suffered from a concussion. They developed a device for at home that uses stimulating sounds to deepen the children's sleep in order to help them recover more quickly. And the duration of the treatment is exactly 1 week. The problem that Sleep Loop have observed is that the motivation and adherence drops over time. This means that the patients never finish the treatment properly.
With the intention of investigating this challenge, we set out to develop Journey to Recovery for our Bachelor project. So Journey to Recovery aims at encouraging motivation by using storytelling as episodic rewards.
What makes Journey to Recovery different? In medicine, gamification methods like points and level up systems are often used to motivate the patients, but critics are of the opinion that these examples can distract from the actual therapy. For this reason, with Journey to Recovery, we rely on storytelling.
So every evening, the child can enjoy a narrative chapter, which can only be unlocked once they have completed the medical treatment of the day. So in the morning, then, they can also access an informative chapter in which they can learn something about sleep and how it affects their everyday lives. In terms of the story, the child goes on an adventure to reconstruct a sleep machine. For this, they have to overcome various challenges and collect 5 different crystals, which represent the 5 sleep phases which our brain goes through while sleeping. So the narrative and the informative chapters are always linked, which means that the sleep education always refers to what was addressed the night before or the evening before. Furthermore, Journey to Recovery acts as a guide and supports the child with augmented reality. It shows exactly where to place the electrodes which are necessary for the treatment in order to ensure the proper usage. We've also combined AR into the story so that it's more engaging and fun for the children.
In our process, we made sure to follow a user-centric approach. Starting off, we have tried the sleep therapy ourselves to identify difficulties and problems along the way to see where action is needed. It was also very important for us to understand our young target audience, the children, in order to design this project project together with them. For this, we visited various classes, did workshops and lessons with them, and gave them cultural probes to take home. One of the biggest lessons we could take away was the insight into the children's routine before going to bed. There we could see how stories in different forms play an important role and how we can start from there without being too intrusive.
Generally, it was really important for us that each part involved had a voice in our process. So for this reason, we conducted workshops with our partner Sleep Loop to identify a balance between medicine and entertainment. With the children, we always continue to stay in touch and collaboratively create storylines and content, but also to test what we've developed. With Journey to Recovery, we are presenting a new approach to promoting motivation, which does not come in the form of a classical game. Furthermore, we have developed an effective example of how augmented reality can help the patients at home during their treatment.
If you want to know more about our project, the process, or our design, you can visit our website, journeytorecovery.ch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Claudia and Randy. So I think that's a quite interesting project in terms of also the process of doing design. Well, sometimes you might think of design, so designers have great ideas of how to do certain things, and then they look at the world and say what they can change. Whereas here it's more from the ground up. So you do workshops, you see what people actually may need, how they do things. You don't come with a preset of conditions of what you think what should be changed, but you let it develop in a more participatory process to develop more meaningful things. And also, again, the aspects of interaction as getting to understand what you need to do rather than just thinking of it as information you need to get, and then if you have all the information correct, then you will act accordingly. And this usually also doesn't quite work in this way. Staying with the topic of health, we move to another project that deals with health-related issues by Jennifer on also strategies of rehabilitation.
So, can you see my screen? Yeah, hope so. So hello, I'm Jennifer. My project is about tongue rehabilitation for snoring therapy. So it actually works as I said, a solution for snoring and sleep apnea. And the goal is to increase the motivation for the patients through a more interactive way. And it works through a unique polymer nanotechnology, which enables stretchable electronics, and it's used with the tongue by touching it and interacting with the interface. So it has ultra sensitive sensors inside of it. And at the moment, the treatments that are used to solve snoring or to prevent snoring are myofunctional exercises, which are exercises like you can see here. During my research, I gathered these 16 exercises, but there are much more. So it's like a gym training for your tongue, and it actually helps to solve snoring, because snoring it's normally the problem is that you lose the strength of your muscles, so the tongue and the soft palate. So these muscles have to be rehabilitated and find another, again, the strength. So with this exercise, this is an effective treatment, but it's used in a not interactive way. So it makes that people lose the motivation quite soon. And furthermore, it's also a therapy that has to be done daily and in a very long term. So that's actually the problem that I wanted to focus in with this project. Also, the tongue is a very interesting muscle of our body, because it is highly sensitive, and it also communicates very directly with our brain. So it has a lot of potential for these kind of interactions and interfaces. So this was also the idea in this project, was to integrate some textures in this interface so that the interaction could also benefit with it. And for that, actually each user has to have a dental splint, which it looks like a dental aligner that you might know already. And for that, you have to do like a scan of your teeth. it is then very individual for each person. It fits perfectly. And it's like something that, as you can see here in these prototypes, and then it's also fitted with these sensors that I talked at the beginning. During the project, I did some game concepts so that each game concept can fit different user personalities, and the user can choose which kind of concept he likes the most to try. This is one of them. It's the relaxing concept, which is not a game for winning or losing. It's more a game to really focus on the movements and the exercises that the person has to do in order to do the therapy. So while the user is moving and doing the exercise, he sees in real time the interaction in his mobile phone. So here I like the two visuals that I developed in this relaxing concept. And it is also like, it works more like a ritual actually that you perform every day, normally more at night. I found out with user questionnaire that persons would like to do it more on the evening after washing their teeth or going to bed. So it's really like an evening moment of relaxation, so to say. And this is also very innovative in the rehabilitation of health, because health, as Claudia and Randy already said, they use more and more gamification in their therapy, but it's most of the time used like real games. And this also shifts you from your actual goal, which is rehabilitation. So it should not go over the real goal, which is therapy. And for that, I also developed an app, which is what is connected to your interface that you have in your teeth. So it's connected, and then you can also access three main functions. The first functions have statistic about how much you train per month or per week. You can see it even per week. And also how much do you snore during the night. So you can track your snoring. You can access how much time you train during the week or per month. And then you can also see then the evolution of your snoring. So the first function is this statistic. Then you can also access the games to play. And then you can set the snoring activation before going to bed so that you start recording your snoring, and then you can see it later on your statistics. So yeah, that was it. I hope you understood my project.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that, Jennifer. So again, so you mentioned a couple of times the role that interactivity plays there is quite interesting. Also, what you mentioned in terms of games. Not that games are bad per se, but there might be things. Oh, what works in games, you kind of use them for other things too, which then called gamification. You gamify things that are usually not part of games. But the problem then sometimes may be that it stays within the game, right? So you do something for the game, and it stays within that framework of game. Whereas here, interactivity might be something where it's more a relationship between you in your everyday life. So it's kind of more meaningful in an everyday setting rather than only in this kind of game world. And other people have explored that also in terms of money, I guess, like Michael Sandel. And the other point that might be interesting here also in terms of what is interesting in interaction design is using unusual things like or muscles that are, everybody, I guess, focus or can focus on quite quickly in their mouth. But, this is usually not considered to be, a form of interaction. You usually think of eyes or fingers in a way which you click buttons or stuff. So using maybe unusual forms of interact or possibility for interaction is also an area that we like to explore quite extensively. So yeah, thanks a lot for that.
Thank you.
The last project, I think we move a little bit away from health and trying to explore some more spatial dimension with sound with the project of Martial, who developed a toolkit for exploring spaces in new ways and seeing maybe new aspects of space that couldn't be seen without this kit. So they're acting as kind of transformers of a spatial dimension, I guess. Martial.
Hey, thank you, Björn. I'm a bit falling out of the frame, so I will do my presentation in German. So I'll switch now to German. Willkommen zu meiner Präsentation, zu meinem Bachelorprojekt mit dem Namen Hero. Ich bin, wie gesagt, Marcel Koch. Und mein Projekt Hero beinhaltet einen Werkzeugsatz, mit welchem unsere akustische Raumwahrnehmung aktiv erforscht werden kann. Der Werkzeugkoffer ist mobil und ermöglicht ein experimentelles Vorgehen an den verschiedensten Orten, während man beim spielerischen Gebrauch damit immer wieder unerwarteten Situationen begegnet. Doch dadurch, dass wir uns ständig in einer Umgebung mit Geräuschen rund um uns herum befinden, bleibt unser räumliches Hörsystem, um uns vor einer akustischen Überstimulierung zu schützen, eigentlich sehr passiv. Dies führt dazu, dass die Gestaltung von Akustik im Raum nie den gleichen Stellenwert aufweisen kann wie die visuelle Raumgestaltung. Ein Ziel von Hero ist es, unser räumliches Hörsystem auf eine aktivere Ebene zu bringen und damit dem Benutzer die Kommunikation mit der Architektur zu ermöglichen. Im Mittelpunkt steht dabei die Beziehung zwischen dem Menschen und dem Raum. Um dies zu erreichen, greift das Projekt auf einen parametrischen Lautsprecher zurück. Das ist eine Technologie bestehend aus mehreren Piezo-Sendern. Der Lautsprecher sendet Ultraschalltöne aus, die für den Menschen nicht hörbar sind. Erst wenn die Schallwellen auf eine Oberfläche auftreffen, verschiebt sich die Frequenz in einen hörbaren Bereich. Wenn der Lautsprecher also wie in diesem Beispiel hier auf eine Decke gerichtet wird, reflektiert der Schall an dieser Oberfläche. Unsere akustischen Hinweise ermöglichen es uns dann, Informationen über diese Decke zu erhalten, indem wir diese Schallreflexionen interpretieren. Der Hero-Werkzeugsatz besteht aus folgenden 5 Modulen. Links unten seht ihr ein Eingabegerät, das zum Beispiel die eigene Stimme oder andere Arten von Tönen abnimmt. Damit greift das Projekt auch auf die menschliche Echoortung zurück, womit menschlich erzeugte Töne, wie beispielsweise eben die Stimme, nicht zur Kommunikation zwischen Menschen, sondern zur Ortung und Kommunikation in und mit Räumen dienen könnte. Die beiden Hauptwerkzeuge links oben und rechts unten, das Richtung- und die Distanzwerkzeug, erschaffen verschiedenartige Erfahrungen, in welche der Raum akustisch erfasst werden kann. Dabei geht es um Einschätzung von Dimension, Struktur, Geometrie und Material. In der Mitte des Bildes seht ihr den parametrischen Lautsprecher, welcher durch 2 Magnete an eines der beiden Werkzeuge befestigt wird. Somit ist es auch möglich, dann später noch weitere Werkzeuge hinzuzufügen. In Aktion könnte das folgendermaßen aussehen. In diesem Fall nimmt das Eingabegerät die Stimme des Benutzers auf und lässt es ca. 1 Sekunde verzögert über eines der beiden Werkzeuge laufen. Diese Verzögerung und weitere Effekte können ganz einfach über ein Audioprogramm am Computer hinzugefügt werden. Um einen kurzen Einblick zu gewähren, zeige ich an dieser Stelle ein Video und ich hoffe auch, dass der Ton dann stimmt. Ich startete nicht von einer Hauptzielgruppe aus, sondern von der Erforschung unserer Wahrnehmungsphänomene, die wir alle besitzen, aber denen wir wenig Beachtung schenken. Durch die unterschiedlichsten Rückmeldungen von den hier aufgelisteten Bereichen, Disziplinen in Bezug auf den Einsatz von Hero kam ich auf die Idee, einen offenen Experimentierkasten zu diesem Thema zu gestalten. So schließt das Projekt auch ein relativ breites Publikum mit ein. Hero erschafft spielerische Situationen außerhalb des Labors, die sich von den existierenden Umgebungen in der wissenschaftlichen Forschungen auf diesem Bereich der Raumakustik unterscheiden. Es bringt Menschen ein Bewusstsein und Wissen über unsere Fähigkeit des räumlichen Hörens, welche viele als selbstverständlich halten. Im Zusammenhang mit der räumlichen Gestaltung könnte dies zu einer Sensibilisierung in Bezug auf Materialien, Geometrien und deren Auswirkungen auf die Akustik führen. Gleichzeitig gibt Hero Räumenden die Stimme zurück, und da die Menschen beginnen zuzuhören und die akustischen Eigenschaften von diesen Räumen zu verstehen. Noch einen kurzen Ausblick. Also zunächst einmal habe ich vor, mich eine Zeit lang selber mit Hero zu beschäftigen. Und das Ziel dahinter ist eine von mir entwickelte Komposition, die optimal auf die Werkzeuge abgestimmt wird und die danach auch als Standard mitgegeben wird, um so einen ersten Eindruck davon zu vermitteln, was alles möglich wäre. Als nächstes werde ich Hero an Personen übergeben, die bereits Interesse daran geäußert haben. Somit könnte um Hero herum auch eine Community entstehen mit einer gemeinsamen Online-Plattform. Ich hoffe damit zukünftige Generationen anzuregen, sich mit so einem wichtigen Thema wie der räumlichen Akustik zu beschäftigen und diese in die Gestaltung mit einzubeziehen. Ich danke fürs Zuhören und an dieser Stelle seid auch ihr gefragt, falls ihr Interesse habt, das wirklich mal auszuprobieren. Der Werkzeugsatz ist bereit, der funktioniert. Meldet euch doch bei mir unter dieser Mailadresse. An dieser Stelle würde ich gerne zurück an Björn überreichen.
Okay, hey, besten Dank dafür. Wir hatten am Anfang schon kurz gesprochen und das ist natürlich auch mal schön, wenn diese Kits rumgegeben werden und man die irgendwie ausprobieren könnte und ich hätte tatsächlich auch Interesse daran. Vielleicht zwei, oder was schön daran ist, vielleicht ein Kommentar und dann würde ich gerne die Runde ein bisschen öffnen, auch für Fragen oder ein paar Kommentare. Ist ja ein sehr, sehr grundlegendes Projekt, also was sehr grundlegend Interaktionsformen auch irgendwie erforscht, ohne jetzt irgendwie ein klares Ziel zu haben, was da genau mit erreicht werden soll. Also nicht zu sagen, okay, wir haben jetzt ein Produkt und das sollen das und das irgendwie lösen, sondern wo wirklich so der Werkzeugcharakter rausgestellt wird. Nicht? Also Werkzeuge sind ja nicht einfach nur dienlich dafür, dass ich damit irgendwas tue, sondern eröffnen ja auch ganze neue Welten dadurch, nicht, die ich mir vorher gar nicht so erschließen konnte, ohne diese Werkzeuge, was man sehr schön in diesem Projekt auch sieht. Vielleicht eine Frage, so continue a little bit mixed German and English. Ne? Vielleicht eine Frage an alle von euch, wer von mir, was am überraschendsten für euch in der Erfahrung halt war. So what was most surprising for you in that project? So Martial, I guess so. If you used it, I think you said you used it for a week. You know, what's the most surprising thing that you realized in the actual interaction, in the actual use of those things, starting with you, and then maybe we move through the others quickly a bit.
Yes, there were a few like surprising things during the usage of it. So like the first one was like the tool, which the direction tool, which is attached on the head and is rotating on its own axis. Really creates kind of a dancing act with the user. So it's also shifting like it makes like a whole body experience for exploration, for a room exploration, which we're always doing somehow. So when we explore a room, we are moving through the room, and it's some kind different in another way different, as it's more extreme movements, more, and you're really concentrating on that. And another thing which I really can mention was when I used it, the distance tool. There were so many different surfaces that the reflections were so different. So, for example, when I was in front of a glass wall, I was almost like, it was almost like a punch in your face, as the reflection of the sound came back so strong that you can imagine. Yeah.
Nice, yeah, very nice. That's very unexpected. So you wouldn't, you need to try those things out in order to get those reactions, and you can think what you can build with them or on them, right? So as you said, maybe more in the musical compositional area there. Anyone else who wants to share some, unexpected, insights that you got during your project? What also maybe have challenged you a little bit, the way you thought about, what you as designers do, or what, how things should be done.
Maybe I can go.
Yeah, Jennifer.
So during the research, I also found out other related projects very interesting, also that use tongue not as a rehabilitation muscle, or a muscle to be rehabilitated, but they use, like, for people with disabilities, can, for example, blind people can see through the tongue. So they have like a camera integrated in a headset, which visualize what's in the environment and transduce that in electro stimulation to the tongue. So you can see, like a blind person would read Braille, you can see what is around you. And there are a lot of more projects. I'm not mentioning all of them, but it's also opened my eyes that, as you said before, tongue is very underestimated, or it's not very thought as something that you can use to interact or to have tactile interface. And it's actually even more sensitive than our fingers that we use every day for swiping, for clicking, and for everything. So yeah, I think it opened my eyes, and I realized, so what can we achieve in a couple of years more if we really go into this direction? it's really, it's very interesting for me, but I hope everyone finds it also interesting.
Yeah, great. I mean, it sits in a long line of pioneering work that I guess started with people like Paul Barririta. Used skin, as an interface basically for blind people to see. These in the 70s, those kind of experiments hinged on this idea of neuroplasticity, right? So the brain sees and makes the connection. Doesn't matter if you use your eyes or your skin to some matter as an input or as an interface. And I think that's kind of interesting about interaction design, that you can explore all those new ways of interacting with other sensorial parts. Anyone else who has any unexpected or surprising, for you personally, surprising insights that came out of your research? Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can jump in here as well, because mathematics is always treated as complicated and rocket science, and you have this machine learning, which is very complicated math for some. And for me, it was really surprising how the beauty also shows up in the very simple things of adding two elements. For example, if you look at a violin duo, you're adding two violins, making a combined sound, which is of course different than a single sound, and bringing that into an experience where you even reduce it further, that you have two simple tones which are added in a special way, and making that experience accessible of what really happens on a very simple level, without being really overly complicated, but on the level of one tone plus one tone is not two tones, but no tone, was for me quite an experience which also surprised me to a certain extent, that this already starts on a very, very simple and basic level, and requires not a whole complicated setup for that.
Yeah, was your project also particularly interesting? So you're coming from a mathematical background and then looked into experiences and how they can, allow you to understand maybe mathematical phenomena in a different way. And for me personally, it was kind of surprising as an understanding of mathematics, that mathematics is about making stuff equal in a way. And I never thought about it in this way. There's an equal sign, and on both sides of the equal sign, it needs to be the same. If it isn't, there's kind of a problem. So, anyone else? Otherwise, we might talk about some other issues. I don't see any questions from any audience or anything currently, so I just continue with stuff that I have on my note paper here. I don't know. The other two, is there anything in yours? Or if not, then that's fine too, I guess.
By me, I'm not sure it was really surprised, but I already had the feeling that I was not the only one that had struggling with learning languages. But what I was really surprised is the enthusiasm I got when I got see people and ask them and explain them about my idea. That they were all, "Oh, that's super great! That's genius! I would have loved to do it." And that had surprised me, because I wasn't always super confident, also because of the confinement. And I think this enthusiasm from people and from every kind of age of people, that was really surprising. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Great.
I think for us, what was really surprising, in particular that we learned a lot, would be from the process in terms of collaboratively working with children in particular, because you could never really expect something from them, because they're just full of imagination, full of wild ideas. And we initially started off kind of with a goal. Whenever we did these workshops with them, we kind of had the intention of getting this one result, and it always ended up to be something completely different. So that was something kind of was always really surprising, and it was a lot of fun, and a lot we really learned there.
Yeah, because we think that that's kind of important, right? We as designers are not like just executing sort of briefs and stuff. In a way, it should also be fun for us. I mean, we'd like to explore things and learn new things too while we're doing design, and might transmit them into more experimental or more useful or immediately useful things in the journey in a way. Yeah, Q&A. So is it only me doing the Q&A?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like Sunke, I also discovered the joys of noise cancelling headphones during the coronavirus times. And I was also just curious about these other little discoveries that you maybe made through this very special situation we had this year. Perhaps we talk about technology a lot at the moment and how it's aiding us, but I'm also curious about what analog methods that you were able to find that helped you in this process during this very special time.
Analog processes to a certain extent, I started already beforehand. So for the explorations, I really examined apples and oranges and put that up as a film. During this special time, it was more a restrictive thing to look at what you have at hand, to use the tools you have lying around next to you. And there I also went, the few times I went out on the street for shopping, I really thought like, where do you have these equal unequals, like my project is called? And there I found it nearly everywhere you look, because you look at leaves of a tree and they're equal, but they're not equal. They're producing oxygen, they're chlorophyll, they have a certain form, they have a certain arrangement on a tree, but at the end, every tree is different. Or you look in a shop and see the different packages of potato chips, and you realize they're all potato chips, but they're flavor different, they have a different brand, maybe they even taste different. But I didn't go into these elements, as for me, there was a too strong disconnect of mathematics. But for maybe going further with the equal unequal thing, this might be an exploration where I might dip a bit deeper to see into really real life things which are same but not same.
That's kind of interesting, right? So you might say, yeah, you're a little bit confined in your room in a way in this time, or were in this time, particularly, if you're normally studying, I guess that's different. But if you're working on a graduation project, that might be a little bit more, demanding in a way. And you make do with stuff that's kind of around, and you get maybe, don't want to make it overly positive, but you get kind of resourceful. You kind of think, what can I use that's not too far away currently? Yeah. Anyone else who want to respond to Luke's question there? Actually, good question. So, Claudia and Rennie, how did you get in contact with all those kids then?
Oh, that mainly happened before the lockdown.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
We were really, really lucky. Also, with the workshop with our partners, we did that workshop 2 days before everything was closed down. So we were just really lucky that we started off early. That would be also the tip we would give to anyone else doing their bachelor: start off early, and because we could really profit from that. And then in terms of afterwards, we got in contact with friends and family and asked them to ask other people that they may know, and then we used online drawing whiteboard tools to come together and sketch out, of course digitally, our ideas and all like suggestions and storylines and stuff like that, while also being in contact over Skype or Zoom or something like that. So we kind of works well. Stay in contact and collaborate online with other people too. But of course, it's not the same, in particular when it comes to drawing stuff online, because drawing with your mouse is just not as comfortable as with a pen. And
But for the end of our process, we also gave the parents a list of things that the kids could draw, and so that they still could draw. After the digital workshop, we just realized it's not going to happen that they draw digitally. So that way they had really fun, and the response was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just took the parents took a picture of the images and then sent it to us. So that was a different way of kind of doing it.
Cool. Well, great. Thanks. So I think we've come a little bit to the end of our session today. So thanks everyone for sharing their work and their insights, and also what you did and achieved, and congratulations again for that. So if you, dear audience, I'm not entirely sure who's who's watching and listening. If you're in any way interested in working with us or collaborating with us in any way, drop us a line. Or if you're interested in studying with us, both on an MA or BA level, again, contact us. Or if you want to know more about the projects that we discussed, or other projects that we didn't show today, go to our website. The link should be available there. And have a look at the projects that that the students developed this semester. So thanks everyone for joining in, and hope to see some of you soon again. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.